Chapter 7, Immigration-Enquiry.
It was January 1968. I was in my fifth quarter of 9-quarter program for my bachelor's degree in chemical engineering. By now, I was as comfortable as a homeless man in a permanent temporary shelter. In this case, my temporary shelter was my dorm building, Wadsworth Hall. Its mission was to be, quote, dedicated to the portion of men's education which cannot be gained through the classroom, unquote. I had been slowly getting used to life at Wadsworth Hall. The hub of the building's activities was the main desk on the first floor, where the student lounge was located. The services rendered at this desk were many and varied. Located at the main desk were stamp machines, postal scales, and a letter drop for outgoing mail. Mail was received and sorted once each day, Monday through Saturday. Each of us had our own mailbox that could be opened with our room key. The main desk also housed the switchboard operators handling collect calls. Long-distance calls other than collect calls had to be placed from the payphones located conveniently throughout the building. When a call was received for you, the switchboard operator would buzz your room. You had to answer immediately by pressing the button next to the light switch and then proceed to the nearest extension phone. Failure to answer your buzzer caused the operator to assume you were not in and your call was disconnected. Use of laundry facilities was optional. Some students used these facilities only when they stank. The university had rules that had to be followed without exception. The use or possession of an alcoholic beverage in any residence hall at Michigan Tech was prohibited. Presence of a container of an alcoholic beverage was prohibited. Anyone found in violation of this policy was immediately dismissed from the college. We had to wear a clean and presentable sports shirt and trousers, excluding blue jeans and shorts, at all meals. A dress shirt and tie or sports shirt button at the collar had to be worn with either a suit or a sport jacket or slacks at dinner on Sundays. We were taught that it was just as important for us to learn the accepted standards of being good, well-rounded adult citizens when we graduate, as it was to learn a profession. We were reminded that many people, including employers, judge a man by his appearance. We were instructed that our daily meals in cafeteria provided excellent opportunities for us to practice good appearance and manners and thus get experience in meeting what was expected by the society. I had also gotten used to spending 30-plus hours each week in class. Of the remaining 138 hours, the great majority were spent studying. Sleeping was optional. Any residual moments were spent making friends, seeking recreational activities, learning about living with others, and becoming exposed to many people who had ideas and habits different from my own. The onerous cold weather and continuous snowfall made me feel even more miserable. Some days I was just plain lonely. I missed my home and I missed my family. There was not a day that went by without me checking my mailbox a minimum of once a day. Seeing a blue airmail letter from India always made my day. Therefore, when I saw an official-looking insidious envelope from the Department of Immigration and Naturalization Service, my heart rate jumped up. When I opened the envelope, I noticed a form letter with my name penciled in. It essentially said, in so many words, 1, you have not reported your whereabouts, and 2, report to us in person with a proof of your enrollment as a full-time student. Failure to do so will be grounds for deportation. Now, this got me worried. What if they indeed deport me? I played this movie repeatedly in my head. If I went back to India, what will people say? I can just hear them saying, he must have done something wrong, and that is why he's back. What will I do in India? I have not finished my school here. I cannot get a job over there either. After all the money I spent to come over here, if I went back, everybody will be disappointed, especially me. I can't do that. Since all these thoughts kept racing in my head, I couldn't sleep that night. I did not know whom to consult. I spoke with my Indian friend who was a fellow student. He gave me lots of advice on what to do. When I asked him if he had ever been in a similar situation, he said no. To me, that meant that he did not know what the hell he was talking about. So I decided not to listen to him. I then consulted with my foreign student advisor, Miss Kate, who was supposed to help me through my trials and tribulations here in this country. She told me, you're supposed to send a postcard to the Department of Immigration every 6 months, and you have violated that rule. Thanks, Miss Kate. I already knew that. So tell me again, why don't you? Sure, just rub it in. But do not worry, she continued. We will give you a proof of enrollment letter which you can present to them along with your passport. Now that's better. They will be good to you, and if you need any help, do not hesitate to call me. When do you have to be in Detroit? 9 a.m. Thursday, January 25th, I answered. You can go by Greyhound bus. It stops on campus. It will pick you up right in front of your dormitory. But Miss Kate, I said, I have heard that only old people, blacks, and bums travel by Greyhound in this country. Is that true? I should not have said that, of course. I was politically incorrect. However, I did not realize that back then. Miss Kate gasped. Who told you that? Besides, what you just said is not very nice. While it is true that senior citizens, the financially challenged, and foreigners all travel by Greyhound, there is nothing wrong with that. She told me the truth. I can handle the truth, unlike someone else I know. What she did not tell me was that it took nearly 20 hours for the bus to travel from Houghton to Detroit, and that you had to switch buses a minimum of 3 times along the way. Moreover, here I was a typical foreign student with no money. I did not own a car. I did not know how to drive a car even if I had owned one, and I could not afford to spend the night at a hotel. On that dreaded day, January 23, 1968, at 11:50 p.m., I boarded the bus that departed for Detroit. Along the way, we changed buses a couple of times, and each bus made what seemed like 100 stops. In total, it was nasty, tiresome 18-hour journey. I arrived in Detroit at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, January 24th. I was so hungry. I had only 2 bags of potato chips, a bag of cashews, and a large Coke. It was too cold outside to take a walk. The bus terminal was busy. The people were coming and going. I sat down on a bench and put my suitcase under my head. It seemed like a good place for me to spend the night. That evening, I began to think about my plan for the next day. My meeting was at 9 a.m. the following morning. Therefore, my plan was to take a cab from across the station to 333 Mount Elliott Street, Detroit, Michigan. I was told it was less than a 10-minute ride. I would then show them my papers, get out of there by 9:30 a.m., and then catch the 12:10 p.m. bus back to Houghton. That would put me back in Houghton by Friday, January 26th at 12:10 p.m. The thought of using the public bathroom was menacing, but then again, I figured that the public bathrooms here are probably much cleaner than any public bathrooms in India. I was just about to relax when I noticed a man with a dark black mustache staring at me. He was wearing a Russian hat and a black jacket. I reluctantly smiled at him and looked the other way. Then from the corner of my eye, I saw him walking toward me. My name is Roger, and I am the Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE officer. He said that sternly as he showed me his badge. What are you doing here at this time of the night? I am meeting with the Immigration Department tomorrow morning. I'm a student. My heart was pumping a mile a minute as I could visualize myself being deported. Do you have valid identification? He asked in a condescending tone. Sorry, I didn't understand what you said. He frightened me so much that I had trouble hearing him. I said, do you have valid ID on you? Show me your ID or you are going to jail. Now that was not very nice, I thought. My favorite actor then, Ephraim Zimbalist Jr., in his starring role as an Inspector Louis Erskine in the TV show The FBI, I watched every Sunday evening, would have said, "You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say or do may be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to consult an attorney, Wait a minute. I'm not a citizen. Do I have a right to anything? I'm a foreigner. They're guests. I'm not a lawyer, and I better not play one. I cannot afford to get into any kind of trouble. Wait a minute. People who do not have anything to hide nothing. I better cooperate and help him to do his job." "Yes, I do," I finally answered. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my passport and visa. As the officer was reviewing the documents with the petulant scowl, my mind went to what my dad told me back in India. If you ever find yourself in any trouble, seek help from Kalyaneshwar Datta, the higher power. I closed my eyes for a second and muttered to my higher power for his help. "Okay, what is your purpose here?" asked the officer. "I'm here to show my proof of enrollment at Michigan Technological University to your office in Detroit. My appointment is at 9 a.m. tomorrow. How much money do you have with you?" $10. "Have you ever been fingerprinted?" "Yes, in Bombay, as part of the immigration process before coming here." "What is in your bag?" "Change of clothes and toiletries." "What hotel are you staying at tonight?" "I will be spending the night here at the bus terminal. I'm doing what I can to save money." "Good luck and be safe," said the officer as he gave me back my documentation, and then finally he walked away. At that point, it seemed like my long nightmare was over. There are simply no words to describe how relieved I felt. What would I have done if he had found some reason, any reason at all, to arrest me? What if I was falsely or honestly accused? Whom would I have called for help? I have not even done anything, and I'm going through all this grief. If I get in trouble with immigration, I am all alone. I have nothing, and I know nobody. What was I thinking? Why did I leave my family? I could see that if I ever got into trouble with the law, my dreams of having a good life and living the American dream would be finished. The authorities would have deported me, and I feared there would be no life for me back in India. My level of apprehension and fear began to subside as the night progressed. I thanked my higher power and went to sleep for a few hours. The next morning, I arrived at the immigration office about a half an hour early. As required, I submitted my documents to the front office. They told me that the officer in booth number 2 would call my name when it was time to meet him for an interview. So I waited and waited. I could see him from where I was sitting. He was smoking a little Tipperello cigar. I walked up to him and asked him if it was my turn. "You were told to sit back until we call you. Now go back and sit down," he yelled that quite abhorrently. Dejected, I went back and sat down. I looked back at that abhorrent man who continued to suck on his Tipperello cigar. I remember thinking to myself, someday I will have a big, expensive cigar in my mouth, and when that time comes, I will throw a tiny clerk like you out of my office and make you see how it feels. After a few minutes, Officer Timothy called my name. He told me that my papers were in order and reminded me, quote, "If you are a documented immigrant who is 18 years or older and have been issued a valid U.S. immigration documents, you are legally required to carry those documents with you at all times. If you have your valid U.S. immigration documentation and you are asked for them, show them to avoid arrest. The failure to carry valid immigration documentation is a misdemeanor." The meeting was 5 minutes long and uneventful. I got back to the bus terminal in time to catch my 12:20 p.m. bus. The first law of any immigrant success is to obey the letter and the spirit of the law without exception. Imagine how this story would have ended if I had broken the law or lied to the authorities. My life in America would have been finished before it even started. The rest of my American story would not have been written. As a new immigrant to this country, I did not enjoy the same privileges as a U.S. citizen, and therefore I could not afford to get in any kind of trouble. Fortunately, I've always been a law-abiding person. I was too grateful to this country to ever violate its laws. I returned to Houghton, Michigan at 10:40 a.m. the following morning. It felt good to be home. Dorm. Aha! So what have we learned? 1. If you break the law, your past will run your future. 2. Obey the letter and the spirit of the law without exception. 3. Never lie to the authority.